Welcome back to GBGuns. I got a special one for you here, kind of a rider ride-along. We're going to take a look at the new Springfield OSP XDm Elite compact in 10mm. Not quite what you're going to get out of the box, but wanted to share some of my experience with you. Tabletop review and field strip coming up next on GBGuns. So what makes this one a bit different, as many of you know, I write for a few magazines and I get stuff in to write articles about it. This gun is one of them. And when that happens, sometimes I get stuff a little bit different than what you get as a consumer when you buy the gun, because the company wants me to be able to show all of the aspects of the gun. So what all is in this box may or may not match what comes when you purchase one. Just want to sort of warn about that in advance, because, well, it's an article, so for me to have more complete information, for you to have a better idea of this gun, I've got to get a little more than just the basics. In this case, the gun came pre-equipped with one of the hex optics on it. I'll show you what else is in the box. So it obviously has this nice zippered case to it. We have a small manual for the hex. Decently done. A single button on this thing, which I kind of like. If you're curious about the hex hex dragonfly, go ahead and pause now and check those specs there. Then the XDm owner's manual packet. Online warranty registration, that's kind of nice. Hopefully it works. I've had a few manufacturers send those where they don't. And a pre-addressed, no postage necessary envelope if you want to mail it in, a sticker, and our manual. It's your standard quad color with photographs instead of renderings. Photographs appear to be very nicely done and nice and clear, including installation of how to properly put the optic on the gun, which is kind of nice. Those of you who already have optic-ready pistols have probably already experienced them manuals not quite touching on that. Underneath here we have our different adapter plates for different optics. Once again, I don't know if these are going to come with the gun for consumers. Came for me as a rider in case I wanted to put different optics on. We have different floor plates, a flush flat, a slight pinky rest, the two different backstrap options, and some sleeves for the longer mags. With the pinky rest, we're looking at 10 rounds of 10mm. With the extended, looks like 15 rounds of 10mm, which seems like plenty enough. Let me get this stuff out of the way and we can actually take a look. This is an XDm Elite Compact 3.8 in 45. This actually is one of the guns that I carried. Those of you that saw my Carry Journal article in Personal Defense World know my history with this gun. Spent a lot of time with it. My first pistol was a 1911, so I wanted to stick with the caliber. Went to higher capacity, more compact, lighter weight with the XDm. Here's the XDm Elite Compact. This is of course 10mm, but I have my old one here so you can see side by side kind of what the changes are, since there hasn't been a whole lot of news about the XDm Elites, though they have been out for a minute or two. I'm going to come in a little bit. We can see that the slide serrations have changed. These ones to me felt deeper, but obviously consume less space. This is shallower, gives you some room to actually get some flesh in there to really grip, and just in handling the gun dry out of the box, these worked fine for me. Our rail spots, about the same but slightly different. Interesting there. I wonder if this is now to spec, whereas this might have been early. It's a very early XDm. Maybe Springfield wanted to start with their own proprietary stuff. These are aftermarket sights that I threw on the gun. This one comes with fiber optic, which is very nice. And you can see, while the XDMs had ambi mag releases, the Elite is offering an ambi slide release as well, making the gun fully ambidextrous. And this is indeed truly ambidextrous. I can depress from either side to kick the magazine out. Frame-wise, everything else stayed basically the same between the originals and the Elite. The grip safety has been enlarged. That's a good thing. A lot of people hate on these for one of two reasons. The main reason that I think you hear about it is those isosceles shooters that are putting the pressures on the side of the gun instead of the front and rear fail to depress this enough to deactivate the safety, and then the gun won't fire. With this extension, that's a bit easier. Another reason why there might be some concern about this is the pins early on were failing it. Mine failed on me at front sight while taking a 4-day defensive shooting course. Fortunately, they were able to repair it and the gun now works. But yeah, there's a little roll pin in there somewhere that activates something somehow. I'm not a gunsmith. Broke, and this wasn't always working for me. The other change that you notice is the trigger. Now, I had a trigger job done in my gun, so it's a rather smooth and light. Very short pull. The shoe has changed on the Elites. You can see it's more angular there. And it's not bad. They still have that 2 clicks to reset. That click there doesn't do you any good. That's the click that gets you to actual reset. And the brake is kind of a pull through. Although you do feel a wall, obvious wall there, kind of squish through the brake, much like an AK kind of thing, which, considering these guns are Croatian, maybe that's not too far of a stretch for them. They also have this mag well on the end, which flares a bit, not helping you a whole lot in the back, but the front and sides, to compare or contrast, there's the old without. Try to get the lighting to roll around in there so you can see the difference. One thing I noticed though with this mag well, and Springfield warned me about this, is these extended mags are not going to work with the sleeve on. The mag well gets in the way. So either you got to go sleeveless and then you risk over inserting the mag, or remove the mag well for it to work with the sleeve. Let me get this stuff cleaned up and we'll take a more in-depth look around the gun like we normally do. Alright, and thanks for sitting through that first part there. I just had to be clear because obviously the gun may or may not come with a hex optic. I don't know if that's going to be an option yet. And the 3 magazines, the different base plates, I unfortunately don't know what's going to come in the consumer package. I have this gun pre-release so that an article can exist in time for it. Nice magazine ejection, as you see there. Oh, but that's because the slide's locked. Alright, so let's try with the slide back. Nope, it still kicks it. Positive magazine ejection. I've always been a fan of ambidextrous magazine releases because I can hit from either side. And for me, I found it's often faster to hit with my middle finger than to reach my thumb across, though I can fit either side on this particular gun. The frame is pretty much identical to the old XDm 45 that I've got. So I think this would be a good shooter. 3.8 inches of 10mm. Is that good or not? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. Part of why I moved away from the 3.8 inch 45 was realizing that ballistically 45 doesn't do much with 3.8 inches. It kind of needs the 5 inches or longer, sort of like 9mm tends to need 4 inches or longer. Well, of course, chrono this for the article and you guys can see the results in the magazine. This, however, is just kind of a tabletop. Does the slide lock release work on the right side? We've seen a lot of guns where it doesn't. It is stiff. Now, my left thumb is not particularly practiced at that. Come on. And, okay, it's racking fine there. There we go. For some reason, it didn't want to rack a second ago. Works as a lock, and it is a little tough as a release, as tends to happen, unfortunately, for left-handed shooters. The way this works is the actual locking is happening on this side of the gun. So when there's a lever over here, it's torquing a little bit across the frame to activate things on this side. The famous fail for that would be the Remington RP9, where it just did not work at all on this side. The bar was twisting so much that you could not reliably drop the slide. Alright, coming to the front of our gun. We've got a squared off front, very Springfield XD-ish. Quite a bit of play between slide to frame. Notice that our rail changed a little bit. These serrations do work. We've got serrations on the front of the trigger guard for those like the European style shooting. Also a slight hook here to hold the finger. The trigger we've already talked about. The serrations and texturing of the frame is the same as the XDs. We just now have this mag well. I'm hoping this mag well is going to help provide some leverage for me. You notice it hooks underneath my ring finger there. That should help me combat against recoil a little bit. It does not protrude much out the back, which is great because that's the part that's hardest to conceal. Back here, some side to side, no up and down play, slide to frame. We have our striker indicator telling us the striker is armed. Pulling the trigger, it goes away. We also have a loaded chamber indicator. I'll get the light to hit it right there. Can't really see it with this Hex Dragonfly up top, but hopefully it's not an issue. We'll see. Next we'll field strip this thing and take a look inside. Field stripping the XDm and XDm Elite is pretty simple and does not require pulling the trigger, which is a nice feature. We check for clear. We're going to lock the slide to the rear and rotate the takedown lever upward. Once it's up, ease the slide forward, the slide comes right off. Looking at our frame construction, rather clean and simple. Nice beefy rails like we've come to know from the Springfield design. And you can, that click is the spring underneath breaking contact. We have a dual recoil spring system. I like these because they tend to make the beginning of racking easy, which is great for press checks and for getting some momentum to actually rack the slide the rest of the way. And then as it stacks, it gets stiffer, and that helps reduce your recoil. Like any Browning action, pop the barrel down to unlock it, bring it forward a little bit, and pull up as you pull it back and out. And here's the inside of our slide. Nice polish and stainless where things can be polished. You can see we have an internal extractor. That's something that some people used to be afraid of. I have not had issues. It was the same thing on my XDm, and I put thousands of rounds through this thing, including dropping the slide on a chambered round several times in training courses. Did not break the extractor or cause any other issues. Look at our barrel. I did notice I haven't fired this thing yet, but just in dry handling, racking it probably a couple dozen times. Quite a bit of finish wear already off the barrel hood, so that'll be a place to watch and lubricate. We have a nice polished feed ramp, and even the lip going into the barrel, if I can get the light to hit it, a little bit of polish on there to help ensure reliable feeding. Now for the range test, it's going to be a little bit different because this is for the magazine. So the groups will be done at a much farther distance, and we're also going to be chronographing the loads. I don't show all of that stuff when I do these because, well, this is for a magazine article. I'm able to give you guys a peek, but I can't show you everything until afterwards. But the XDm Elite Compact, now available in 10mm, is kind of exciting. I'm also excited to try this Hex Dragonfly. Not tried one yet. I like the looks of it. Pretty big window. Kind of a bummer that it doesn't co-witness with the sights. But, I mean, there's only so many ways things can be done. They'd have to completely redesign the slide if they wanted this optic to be able to sit lower. And obviously, they opted not to do that. But that's from HS Product, available in the US through Springfield Armory. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. If you guys carry a 10mm, I know 10mm seems to be one of those calibers that everyone loves to make a lot of noise about, and very few people actually shoot. I think increased recoil, increased ammo cost makes it not as popular as 9mm, but it certainly is a potent cartridge, all the way up to, it seems, about 6 inches of barrel. Once you go past that, it appears, from my own chronograph testing, those of you who read our article in Combat Handguns magazine on the CMMG Banshee 10mm, saw that there's really not much benefit to any longer of a barrel. How is a 3.8-inch barrel going to do? That will be interesting to find out. Thanks for joining me on this ride along, if you will, and we'll see you in the next video.